Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see everybody back. And now, before I start on the digital transformation, I just want to find out how many of you are already using ChatGPT. Just raise your hand. How many of you? ChatGPT. Oh, not so many. How many planning to use ChatGPT? Not yet. No? Okay. So it is one of the wonderful tools that I must say which help us to improve our productivity. But at the same time, do not neglect your loved ones because the more you chat, the more you get engrossed, and then before you know, you you don't have time for your loved one. Huh? Okay. So today, good afternoon. I'd like to introduce a little bit about what I'm going to talk about. Now, I've been in this starting from, let me just give you a journey of what I see when we reach digital transformation. Before that, in the 1980s, we were looking at computerizations. I think some of you who live longer, you know. Computerizations, where the whole idea is to computerize your internal system with SAP, Oracle, and the likes. So that was good in the 80s. And then we move into the year 2000. Then we look at how do we transform our supply chain. And the first book on supply chain management, I remember, only start publishing in year 2000. And the whole idea is not to look inward, but also to look at your supply chain. And give you a very simple example. Whenever you are a supplier and you want to ship your goods to your customer, you will do outgoing QC, right? And then the customer, when they receive the goods, they will also do an incoming QC. But both the QC are duplicating one another. So if you are looking at the first stage, you will not see any saving. But once you look at the supply chain between incoming QC and outgoing QC, you start to eliminate one part of the QC. Why do we want to duplicate both the same tests again? So that's the era where we try to look at how you can collaborate with your supplier, customers, and minimize our operations. But today we are moving towards an industrial transformation. And that's where we look at things like the digital platform. There are many digital platforms out there, right? So you can look at Grab, you can look at Airbnb, and you can look at some of the logistic platform. So the platform is one stop connecting everything seamlessly together. So, somehow the digital transformation is too fast. Anyone know what is the bottom? Did I press the wrong button? Okay, so moving with that journey, that's what I did. So in the 80s, I came out with a book on re-engineering, and it was really useful to look at company, how they transform their processes. And then in the year 2010, me and a few researchers worked on using digital industry 4.0 to transform the healthcare. So we look at AI, we look at blockchain and all that, and how do we apply that in the healthcare. And then in recently, 2 years ago, then I partnered with another consultant to look at digital transformation. So one of the things about digital transformation is really to ask ourselves, what are we trying to appear in front of our customer? Very important, because most of the time, when I talk to some of my students, my potential client or research counterparts, the idea of digital transformation is should we explore AI, blockchain, or whatever without understanding what is the main purpose of use of those technology. So you really have to understand what are we trying to address. in terms of changing our processes, all right? And then what is our differentiation in terms of value propositions? What is it that we can make a difference in terms of using the technology? Okay, so I'm going to share with you the 8 steps that since re-engineering time until now, it doesn't really change a lot. Just that the technology have evolved a lot, but the methodology doesn't really change. And why 8 steps? Because in Chinese, 8 is good. Nothing more than that. Huh? Yeah. So always remember the value proposition is a very important part of our digital transformation. Why do we want to change? What is those extra value that we can create from the customer perspective? Right? What are we trying to do so that we can deliver better value to our customer? And that was actually been part of the study being done by McKinsey. Now, let me share with you an example of a true digital transformation. One of the true transformation is to replace inventory with information. And I want to share with you this classic example of spare part inventory. In the classic example of spare part, we have to think about what spare part to keep in our warehouse, how much safety stock, and where do we keep our spare parts. So these are traditional questions we always ask when we are managing spare parts. But today, this is a very different era now. We want to transform this by replacing our spare part with information. So now we scan our spare parts into a 3D model using AutoCAD, store them into a file, right? And as and when do you need that spare parts, you can print using a 3D printer. And therefore, you are not so concerned about how big your warehouse, but rather you will be addressing what are the drawing that you need to keep. A lot of automotive companies are already using 3D printers to manage their spare parts inventory. So we are replacing inventory with information, and it's much cheaper. The storage space is definitely much cheaper digitally than storing in a warehouse. So once you are very clear how you want to deliver value or new value to your customers, then we look at the processes that are involved in this delivery. And normally when we identify processes, we look at 3 areas that we can pick them for transformation based on our new value proposition. 1, functional. That means it always breaks down a lot of issues that you need to address. Okay? Second, how important is it to your customer, right? If the customer always complain about your front desk or complain about booking system, those are the area that we really need to focus on. Again, tie back to your value proposition. And the last thing is how feasible. You can have a process that they are doing very well and they are not so important. Or sorry, they are important, but they may require you to break the rule. Then it doesn't make sense. So you have to look at these 3 areas. And same problem again. So feasibility is an area that is quite important. Many years ago, in 1980s, Progressive Insurance in the US came up with a very new idea on claiming of car accident claims. So what they did was, when there's an accident, there will be someone from the insurance company who look at the damaged parts And then they use their database to estimate what is the history of the repair cost. And on the spot, they issue a check to the customer to do the repair. So I was discussing that with one of my students who is also doing car insurance. They say that cannot be done here in Philippines. Why? Regulatory requirement. You need to submit a police report. You need to do this and this and this. You add up is about 1 week. So it doesn't make a difference. So sometimes you can have the two processes change, but the last one is still taking you too long. Huh? So another one that I want to share is omni-channel. I think some of you know that today almost everything in the physical store, you can also find them online. So the question is, you need to make a decision whether you want to centralize your warehouse or decentralize. One warehouse for physical store and one warehouse for online store. And then you also have to make a decisions on in-source and outsource. So it's not so simple in omni-channel, right? I must also admit that we do have challenges in some of our clients that we engage. So this is a comment in general about some people who think that they are omni-channel, right? But the back end is still multi-channel. Give you an example. You may want to buy a book from online. Then when you think that this book is not what you want to return at the store, but they say no. The store is a different SBU from the online, so you are not allowed to return directly from the store. So sometimes it creates a lot of confusion. So when we are looking at changing processes, we have to be very mindful about the whole integration, the back end and the front end. Next. Now this part here is very interesting. I noticed that not many people do that when they're going to digital transformation. Digital transformation is always an afterthought in most organizations that we talk to, rather than dedicated with a team. So we believe that you need thought management to assign resources, funding, and also at the same time we believe that you need to have a full-time team of at least 5 to 10 people. Full-time, just looking at that project and deliver that project on time, right? And they come from multi-functions, right? Sales, marketing, production, and all those things. Now, based on my practical experience, this team make up of people who are either not wanted by the department, yeah, because they are not doing great thing. Because if you are so good, the department head will not recommend you to join. The second thing is the good guys will not join. Why? Because when the project is over, they cannot go back to their original job. So a lot of time the challenges is hiring this group of full-time people are tough. First of all, they are not able to get their job back. Second, only those who are not so great, they will come here, nominated by their boss. So how do we acquire the processes? Now here, interestingly, while we're trying to understand about customer, what are our customer, who are our real customer, we find that we really sometimes underestimate our customer. For example, as you know from my English, I speak more like a Singlish. I'm from Singapore. So we have a hospital in Singapore called Tan Tock Seng. So in year 1980, we were trying to put a kiosk. 1980, the kiosks are considered very advanced. Okay, so we want to put it into the hospital, and the question is, where should we put the kiosk? And after they discussed, they put it at the eye center because it's the simplest part of our body, right? And then we implement the kiosk as part of today we call digital transformation, and we remove the reception, no more reception. And after 6 months of implementing the kiosk, we have a post-implementation review, and the patient complained that they are not happy with the kiosk. Why? Simple reason. The patient can't even see properly. How do they insert the ID into the kiosk? How do they read the kiosk? So in the end, it was a failure. So sometimes you really have to go down to the ground and find out who your real customer is. Yep. Now, of course, another thing that we always talk about in theory is to be able to segment our customer. And this one is really true. There is no one size fit all. We really have to understand who are the segment that we are targeting and build different processes, right, to cater for them. And then you can see that if you look at the bank, you look at the airline, the one at the top, which has the most profitable customer, we should do more personalized process for them, right? The bankers, right? When those at the bottom, then we should get them to do online. So the cost to serve will be lower. So as we move in different segments of our customer, we should really know what processes is suitable for them. Now the last part is creative process. This is the part where I enjoy the most because everybody will be brainstorming, right? And there are quite a few so-called patterns that we can use in brainstorming of processes. The first one I want to share with you is a company in Singapore that has to do with container depot operations, and they repair a lot of containers for the shipping line. Containers are all owned by shipping lines normally. And what they did is when the container come to the depot, someone will take photos and then send the damages from the photos to the shipping line for approval to repair. But this will take a long time. So they came up with this, this was done in 1990s, okay? So they came up with a platform, a very simple platform where they take digital photo and then store them inside the server and send an email to the shipping line with a hyperlink, and then they go there, directly look at the damage area in the container, and then they can approve the repair or, so again, very simple example. We don't need to use very complicated way to transform our processes, right? Simple the better. Next one also happened in Singapore. Is a group of hospitals in Singapore where they have hospital A, B, and C, and they've been running their warehouse internally. And what they did was they outsourced to a third party, and the third party will now manage all their expense items in the third party warehouse. And now each of the store in the hospital are transformed into a ward for the patient. So they are now making money from that storage space, and then they are able to get the third party to do all the procurement, the logistics. And the good thing is that now, because there are 3 hospitals, they are able to consolidate bulk purchase, and they get better discount, and they are doing postponement. That means to say hospital A, they need the shampoo, they will then use the shampoo with the hospital A brand, and then they put it inside the container. So all those things are made possible now, and just in the first year, they were able to save about $2 million US. Just first year only, the saving. And on top of that, they can increase their revenue for their wards. So this is one of the unique case about just doing simple changes, outsourcing. At the same time, you save costs and you increase your revenue. And then another one here. This example is, you can also find that in Philippines, where you have documents that you need to keep for 5 to 10 years, compliant to law, like invoices, customers' application form for the bank. So what they did is they will scan all the document for you and then bring all these document outside to a rural area. All right, and then from there, as and when you need, then they will bring it back. Otherwise, it will be in the PDF file. Again, it's a lot of saving, and we are replacing inventory, in this case, documents, with information, right? Especially in the law firm, right? All the past cases, right? Rather than keeping it in, all those BGC area, which is very expensive. Now they move all the past cases into the rural area. Now, so how do we then map processes with technology? So that's the place where I think we give you an example, right? So there are processes that we map here, right? Or for importing of chickens. So if you look at that, then the processes on the left side will be all your steps, and then in the middle is your value add versus non-value add. Identify which one is value add. And then on the right is the technology that will enable that particular activities. So the more you identify on those steps that you can enable, then you can then decide whether should I have a mobile apps, should I have AI, and that's where you start to see how technology can enable those steps for your new process. So that's how I did the technology mapping. So this is another one. I think we will skip. Okay. Now, this one here I think is quite useful for those who have not implemented any digital transformation. I want to share with this because as we will to, no, it cannot work, okay? So let's start with the left side, digital processes. So you start looking at processes, you transform your process. That's not good enough. Those processes that you transform will end up creating new job, creating new skill, obsolete some of the old skill also, right? And also you have to reskill some of the people. For example, in e-government, we have to move people at the counter, remove them, and then they become help desk, right? And also support staff. So there's a lot of changes that we need to do at the bottom there, right? And then once we start aligning the new organization structure, the new skill set, the job, then the next thing we do is change the KPI. Because people only do what they are measured. Agree? If you are not measured, why you bother? Just like my student, if I tell them there's no exam, they disappear from my class. So always remember, people do only when they are measured, right? So you have to change the KPI system, you have to change your process measurement, move towards process measurement rather than individual departmental measurements. And the last one is the most important, right? You can do all the three correctly. The last one is people mindset doesn't change, right? You can change the software, the hardware, everything, but to change a person's mindset takes a longer time. That's where we have to understand, are we getting the right value system or behavior? If we are not, then we have to start looking at implementing some change management in the part of digital transformation. So change management is really important because you can change anything, software, hardware, everything, but it's very hard to change a mindset. So this is an example of a CEO from a German company. He said transformation change is not an overnight business because we have to get the employee to embrace on the new culture and moderate on communication process. And it takes longer than you need, It's true. And people again, right, it's about the one who will be executing the digital transformation is the people themselves, right? Nothing go automatically. It's still done by the people, right? So what kind of skill set do we need? What kind of training do we need to upskill them? And lastly, what kind of behavior are you expecting in the new digital transformation, right? Are you doing more empowerment? Are we doing more digitizations that will change the behavior of our people? So many times this is something we have to look at. All right, so I think with that I end my presentation on time, I hope. Thank you.